Hello there, survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today, I'm going to show you step by step how to build this medieval villa in ARK Survival Ascended. I've been building this on Astraeos, but of course, anywhere where you have a decent amount of space left, you should be able to build this base. It has a big villa, of course, with a lot of room for all your storage, your crafting, two side wings to do your storage with, or your crafting, your kitchen, whatever you want to use it for. You've got two builds on the front as well, including some smaller stables down below. Plenty of gateways to access your base from, so everything that fits through the gate can easily fit inside. Room for your flyers, of course, and just a generally cool looking base. So if you're interested in building this, let's get started with the tutorial. But before we do that, don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and then let's get to the build. Of course, starting out with a foundation. Now you want a relatively flat space. You can build this all out of foundations instead of pillars, ceilings, and walls. And we want to start out by a line of 8 of these foundations, and then we're actually going to turn it into a square, so 8 by 8 in total, which should get us started with the main villa part. So yeah, taking it up by 8 and bringing it back around all the way until we close off this shape. So that's the start of this. For now, we're not going to fill it in just yet. And then here on the side, we're actually going to start with one of the wings of the villa. So we're going to go in by 2, bring it out by 5 in total. So 5 foundations, and then we're going to make this wing 4 wide and bring it back into the main building. And of course, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So these are going to be the 2 side wings of the villa build, bringing it out by 5, 4 wide, turning it back into the building itself. There we go. Then from here, one from the outside, we're going to go a 3 by 2, and of course the other side is going to be exactly the same. This is kind of part of the wall of this whole compound. Then it's time to start the gatehouses. We're going to start right here at the pathway, and we're going to go make this a 4 in total, and then it's going to be a 4 by 4 little square that we add to this, which is going to be one of the gatehouses. And naturally, we want to do the same thing on the other side as well. So we're going to add a little 4 by 4 over here as well, which once again, these are going to be our gatehouses, so you can easily go in and out of the compound. Then we're going to continue a little bit. We're going to go out by 7 in total here, and we'll bring it back right along the side, making it 2 wide. It's going to be another compound wall, this one. So bring it out by 7, of course, also here on the other side, and then filling it in so it is 2 wide in total. There we go. So for now, this should be the layout. And then here, of course, we're going to have the 2 buildings and the little gate in between. So taking it out like this, 4 wide, and then this side needs to be 6 in total. Then we can bring it back and also fill in the side of this building. There we go. On the side, we're doing the exact same thing. So 4 wide, bringing it out like this and making it 6 long and filling the whole shape in. So that's going to be the 2 main buildings. And then, of course, we just need to make a little gateway that's going to fit between. And that's going to be a 2 wide thing. And we're just going to fill that in right in the middle here between those 2 houses. And that should give us the entire layout. Now for the middle of the compound, we want to add one more layer here at the front of the villa for the staircase that's going to be there. And then we can choose, either you can have the middle just be more stone, but I personally would like to use thatch and then paint it in the filth color to get a little bit of the grass look, just to bring a little bit of color into the compound. But of course, feel free to choose whatever you want to use here. And we're going to fill in everything in the middle. So just the compound, not the buildings themselves yet. We'll do that as we start building them one by one. But for now, we're just going to fill in this entire shape, making sure that we've got this whole compound done. And as I said, the thatch, you want to paint that in the filth color or any other green if you prefer something else to make it look like grass. And yeah, get some color into your life. But this all together gets us pretty close to the full foundation that we'll need for this build. We will add some stairs in here at the front where the gate will be, just some stairs along the front like so. And then of course at the side where the gatehouses will be, you also want to add some stairs in the middle. If it allows you with the terrain, you can add a slope wall to the side. Might not allow you, like me. You could of course use ghost mode if you have cheats on, but otherwise just leave it like this. Just add the stairs in so it's easier to get in and out. And we're also going to add in a stair right here for the main part of the villa. One from the end. We'll start with a staircase and also end it one before the end, because we'll have some pillars here on the end to kind of raise this bit up a little bit. So yeah, we have some pillars here on the corners, go all the way to the back to do the same thing, and want to make sure that these pillars actually connect all the way back into the ground, because we don't want anything to be floating around here. And then once we've done this, we can actually start filling in the walls with stone walls as well. For these side wings, we want to keep these middle two open for now, just to save on the structures, and then we can continue going around with the walls all the way up to the front. Of course, attach a little slope wall here to the side of the staircase, and then continue going around with our stone walls until we've actually made it all the way around. Once again here for the side, leave two open for the side wing, and then fill in the walls here at the back as well. We're going to raise this whole thing up, and you could actually use this little layer as some hidden storage. Now, technically, we only need one line of foundations to get the foundation support, or actually maybe we already have the foundation support. So you could leave these out, but I like to fill them in just in case you want to use this as a secret basement. But yeah, you could save some structures here if you need to. For now, we'll just fill it all in, and then we should be able to take out our stone ceilings and start filling in this entire layer to kind of get this raised a bit, another layer to our villa compound for the main building that we're going to be working on for now for the start. So yeah, we're just going to go all the way around, adding in these ceilings. As you can see, this does mean that you have some space left below. You could easily add some secret entrance to this. I'll show you a little bit later how you could do that. And yeah, then you could have maybe a generator hidden down there or something you don't want to have in sight. For now, that should do it to get the foundation going. Then we want to either raise up pillars 3 high in total, like this, but you can also make them look a little bit nicer. First off, 2 in, we're going to add in a nice gate in the middle. Then here on the side, aligning it with the middle of this side wing, we're going to add another gate, 1 in from the edge, so that we have a nice little entrance to these side wings, doing the same thing over there as well. Those are going to be our 3 main entrances, and then we're going to use these water reservoirs as our big pillars. We want to have 4 of them right here in front next to the gate, and we want to stack them up until they're 7 high, which should be the height of 3 normal walls. And we want to do that for all of them. This will also mean that this base can technically store a lot of water for you should you ever need it. Here at the back, we want to do the same thing on the corners. Make sure that they are 7 high in total for all of these pillars. And there we go. That should be what we've got going on. Then we want to take out some more pillars. We want to leave gaps of 2 and add some extra pillars in here for the design, and also make them go up by 2 above here at the back of the building. That should look like this for now. And then we can actually also fill in the walls in between those. So yeah, we can just fill in all these walls to be 2 high. Just at the back though. Here at the front, we're going to do it slightly different. This is the corner that we want. 3 high pillars on both of these corners, and that's going to be the actual corners of our building. We'll fill in this wall 3 high as well. Same thing on the other side, and then we can do it next to the main entrance as well, having these walls go up 3 high in total. And then here at the back, we want to have a wall that's 3 high. We'll leave 1 open next to the gate, another wall that's 3 high. On the other side, of course, we're going to repeat this process. So walls all around that are 3 high, except for the back that we did before. And then it's time to start filling in a little bit of windows in between. So we'll have some quarter walls at the bottom and at the top. of the gaps that we still have left, as well as here on the front, we're gonna do the exact same thing. So yeah, we add in these little quarter walls to kind of raise up the window that we're gonna be making. Then the short door frame is gonna be the top of our window for all of these. So we're gonna go around, place these in all the gaps that we've just created, and then we can have the tall door frame underneath these to create some nice and tall windows that will look very, very nice. We can take out our greenhouse doors to add in, because that's going to look like it's an actual window. And we'll do that for all of these. Should leave us with something that looks like this. Then actually here in the middle at the back, we can take away these two walls. We can add in a little platform of 2 by 2. And we can add some stone stairs going up to that. Then fill in the sides with some of these slope walls. Some normal walls as well to make sure that this is all nicely worked away. And this is where you can have some secret doorways, maybe even build a staircase down to your hidden generator to access your hidden basement if you want to. But this is going to be the start of our staircase. We'll add in some pillars as well for extra support, and that should be the start of this. Then we can add in a big gateway here at the end for a nice window. And that is already starting to look like a nice entrance. Here at the back, we actually want to go around and have this little border of beams going across. And then as well at the bottom of the window. On the inside, we can actually continue these beams. Now, if you want to save for structures, definitely this is something that you could save on. You don't need them, but they just give a little bit more detail for the build. So there we go. That is our current main room. And then what we can actually do is make sure that we got the entrances here as well. So we're going to have stairs leading down from this. Of course, going to fill in the sides. But first of all, we want to make sure that we actually fill in the foundations here as well, because that's going to be the little side wing. And of course, this is going to be the case for both sides of the building. So yeah, we want to fill in these foundations, add in these stairs, and make sure that we have the slope walls next to it to kind of fill in these stairs safely and make sure that it all looks nice, which should finish this first part of the main structure. Then we can actually add in some extra pillars here next to the gateways on the side as well, just as a little bit of extra detail. So yeah, we want to have 2 pillars next to that. Again, they should be 7 high, just as high as the 3 high walls that we already placed down, and do that on this side over here on the other side of the wing as well. Then we can of course add the gate to the main door. I wouldn't necessarily add them to any of the others, but this one of course it's nice to be able to close off. Then in the big window at the back, we actually want to just add normal walls. Then we can skin them with the frontier skin from the Bob Tall Tales DLC and turn them into proper windows. Then we actually want to use that frontier skin as well on the gateway to turn it into nice matching wood. And yeah, you can get a big window. We actually want to do this for all of these gateways so we can turn them all into wood, because I really like the look of this. But of course, personal preference if you don't like this look or you prefer something else. But I think it blends in nicely and breaks up the stone texture a little bit. And yeah, the window at the back, if you can't use the gateway, you can also just surround it with pillars instead. Speaking of, we're going to add some wooden beams down here to kind of, tie off this wall. And then we're going to start raising some pillars up. So first of the corners. Then we want to actually, next to the gateway, go up by 4 in total. So all the way up like this. The corners, we want to make sure that we raise them up equally high. And then we can actually go 1 from the top. We will go out with a beam 2 to the side. So like this. Then of course, this one needs to be 4 high in total as well. And then we go out by 1 like this. And then go up to the same height, 3 high in this case. And this is the shape that we should get. Then we can start filling in these walls. First off, we're going to start with some quarter walls. Flip them around because of the texture. That looks a little bit nicer in my opinion at least. And we want to have a layer here at the bottom. Then we want to have 2 on those in the corner. Then we're going to actually leave a little gap because we're going to fill in these windows again. The same as we did before. So we have the tall doorways first. Then we have the short doorways. And you need to be able to match these quarter walls to the side. So first off, we leave the gap. Then we can do the top as well. Then we need to change... Well, actually, we'll do this side as well. And then we will change to the second variant so that everything matches. We don't leave any gap in the walls, because at least with the vanilla structures, there's variants for these wooden quarter walls to actually attach them and make them fit. Then we can fill in these windows as well to make it look all nice. And then for the rest of the walls, we can just have normal full walls filling in all of this. And again, I flip these textures around because I just like the look a little bit more, especially once we start painting them later on. But this is the back wall of the villa. Then of course we can actually skin all of these pillars, all of the wooden pillars at least. I would definitely skin to the frontier skin. The stone pillars, you could go for the steampunk skin and then turn them into the stone variation. That's quite nice as well, but I'll leave that up to you whether you want that or not. But the frontier ones, I would definitely recommend. And then here on the inside, of course, we want to start our staircase. So we're going to go up by a 2x2 staircase to both of these sides, because it's a villa. We want to have a grand staircase here at the entrance to look over. And then of course we can have some railings on the sides, safety first after all. So yeah, we want to do that everywhere. And yeah, then we can actually do this next to the staircases leading out to the side wings as well, like this. That should be enough for now. We will fill in the rest of the walls later, of course, but for now, railings like this should cover it. And yeah, then we have a nice little staircase going up to the second layer. But of course, we need to create that layer. So it's time to take out our wood ceilings. We can snap them over here. They might overlap a little bit with the water reservoirs. I'm not sure if you're able to do that in official settings. You might need to take off the top layer. Not sure how that will look. But again, you can also just use normal pillars instead of the water reservoirs anyway. And then we can go all the way around the outside. And then instead of going next to the staircase, one in. And then we'll start filling in the layer of our ceilings like this. All the way until we finish this shape. And then we can add in some pillars here. So we want to take gaps of 2 and 3 high pillars each time. So like this. And then one from the corner. That's where we'll have the last one. So not all the way out. And we can actually do the same thing here over on the other side. 3 high pillars, gaps of 2 to create this pattern. And then the middle ones we can already fill in with a proper wall. Again, flipping the texture to the outside because that's what we prefer for this build. Here at the front, we want to have 1 row of these walls at the corner and then 2 here in the middle, leaving a gap of 2. And the same thing here in the corner as well, which should leave us enough room. Because then we can actually, of course, for the gaps on the sides, make some windows. And at the front, we'll see in a little bit. At the top and the bottom, we want to add these layers. We want to do the same thing over here with the first variation of your quarter walls. Once again, we want to make sure that this looks nice. It all fits together and there's no gaps in a wall. So for now, we're going to leave a little gap to place these variations. Then you can change to the second variation, fill in these holes so that they should all align with the windows that we're about to place next. So once again, we're going to do the same thing we've done a few times now. We have the short doorway at the top and the tall doorway at the bottom to create these nice tall windows that, in my opinion, look quite nice. If this one will let me get the right snap point. There we go. And that should look a little bit like this. Add in the greenhouse glass doors, of course, to create your nice tall windows for the villa. Same thing on the other side. And then we'll add a nice beam across the bottom here of the building. Same thing here. Continue this beam all the way across. And as I said before, we want to change all of those beams and pillars to the frontier skin just to make it look a little bit nicer, because I just like these pillars a little bit more. They look a little bit nicer, especially for a villa build, in my opinion. But feel free to leave them if you don't like the texture, or maybe if you don't have the DLC available to you, then of course you can also just build it with normal pillars. Actually, I would also suggest doing all the ceilings in the frontier skin because I'd like that look a little bit more. We'll have some railings here, of course, to keep it all safe and make sure that this is ready for the next layer of our build. Then here at the front, of course, we want to make sure that this balcony also looks good. First of all, we're going to add in some of the scaffolding to make it look like it's being supported by the scaffolding, like so, just on the front. And then we can take a little look at the balcony and the gates that we want. So we take out some nice gateways here, add them in between in these gaps. Those are going to be our doorways in. And then I would personally skin them to the frontier skin as well, because I just like the look of that slightly better. Then, of course, we want to take out some pillars to fill in these little gaps that form between the gateway and the walls. So, yeah, pillars all the way up. And once again, of course, I would personally change these to the frontier skin because, I mean, that matches a little bit nicer. But feel free to do it differently if you like a different look. That is, of course, important to change to whatever you like most. And then for the balcony, we can add a little railing all the way around, of course, to make sure it's safe to use and you won't just fall down whilst walking around on your own balcony. Then on top of where the other pillars were, we want to go up with wooden pillars this time so that they are a little bit thinner than the ones we used below, and we can make them 3 high in total. Then here the middle two we're actually going to remove because we're going to once again make a staircase up. First we're going to have some thin pillars here on the corners just to add in some proper supports for the next layer of the villa build. So 3 high thin pillars all the way around like so. There we go. And then we should be able to take out a little staircase and go up by 1. We'll make a little landing again, so a little platform just above the window, and then we can go to the sides with our staircase again, just as we did before. Yeah, kind of like it having these big staircases in the villa. Feels like it's appropriate. Then we want to take out our ceilings. We want to, of course, connect them here, and we can actually take them around the side of the building as well by 1 layer of ceilings in total. So yeah, we just want to follow around the edge of the build all the way to fill in these ceilings, and again 1 outside of the current wall. Here at the front, of course, we want to make sure that it connects above the pillars, so it's going to go out 2 from the actual wall, but it should line up with the pillars that are already there. And then of course this side also 1 to the outside in total. And once we've done that, oh no, not that one, we'll go and place the rest of the ceilings right next to the stairs to create another floor of our build, which should give you another bit of space to use. There we go. Then we want to have some supports underneath, some more scaffolding, lining up with all the pillars we have. Just, yeah, to make it look a little bit nicer, of course. And if you do not have any scaffolding because you do not have the Bob Tall Tales DLC, you can, of course, just use slope walls or something like that to still get a similar effect. But yeah, the scaffolding, of course, is kind of made for this kind of thing. So we'll go all the way around. Make sure to add them in everywhere. And that should... Oh, that should be up. Well, that should be about it for the scaffolding. And we can start with the final layer. And the final layer, we're going to start by adding some beams across the front and back side of this new platform we've just created. So we'll just go and follow along the edge. Oh, nope, not over there. Along the edge all the way across, both on the back and the front, not the sides though, just the back and front like this. And then we can probably get started with the roof. But first, let's finish some of the interior details here by having some railings alongside the staircase, of course, making sure you don't just fall down. And of course, we'll also add in the railing right over here, as well as on the other side. So once again, you can safely walk around up here without any issues. And yeah, that's it. So for the roof, we want to start right at the side here. We want to go 2 wide, so we have 1 layer that's overlapping on the outside, and 1 go up by 3 in total. Then we can go all the way across to the other side here. Once again, making sure that we have a little overlap on the outside. And then we can have the middle 3 filling in. Oh, geez. I am really doing great with these snap points today. Yeah, the middle 3 we want to do. And then we can just connect the top layer as well. Because we are going to have some small windows poking out from the roof just to create a little bit more interest mostly. But I mean, I guess it also brings in a little bit of light. So we want to create these corners and then add some beams across the top. Slope walls, of course, to fill in these sides. And using the frontier skin, we can actually make this into windows, which is probably the best addition that they ever did to these kind of shapes. And then here at the top layer, we also want to make sure to add in a beam all the way across the top to the other side. Like so. There we go. That one can go. And that's the first part of the roof done. Now, for the second part, we want to start with some ramps. Flip them around and then add one layer that is too high, I suppose. Damn, let's replace all those. Yeah, so too high, that should lead us up to the middle of the roof. And that's kind of what we want to do all the way across for this one. So yeah, we can just take out these ramps if I don't keep misplacing them everywhere. But yeah, we want to take them all the way across, and of course make sure that you just line it up with the roof so that you have the one overhang on both sides, so that we have a little bit more detail and more shape in our build. So like that should be it. And then of course at the middle, at the top, we want to have one more row of beams going all the way across until the end. And you want to make sure that you do that for the other side as well. And then we can fill in these walls going up with pillars. There will be a little gap, but if you snap from the top, if you have overlapping, you can actually snap it inside. Otherwise, you can leave it out. And then, of course, we want to do the same thing here. So after a gap of 2, we have the same thing. Place those pillars down. Gap of 1. We can have 3 pillars going up to the roof. Same over here. So we have these 1 wides. We'll fill them in with some normal walls. But these are going to be a window. So we're going to use the frontier skin to make them into the nice big windows up here. And then for the rest, we can fill in as much as possible. So all the way up to here. And then we'll have a layer of quarter walls up on top there. So just a small little gap because we don't have normal build pieces. But you can use some railings to fill in the gaps a little bit more should you want so. And then for this corner, we want to place these 3 normal walls on both sides. And then we can fill them in with some slope walls to fill in the gaps. And of course, we want to repeat the process on the other side to finish the main part of the villa. And then we can start with the side addition. And we'll start out with a layer of normal stone walls almost all the way around the build. So here on the ending as well. Then we have one over there. And we want to make sure that we place them in the right order. So of course, we're going to have a little side entrance here. So this would be 1 technically. And then this would be 2. So that's what you want to have. You want to have 2 on the other side as well. And in the middle 2 are open. We'll have some quarter walls next to those and a double door frame in the middle so that we can have a nice entrance to these side wings so you can easily get in and out of your courtyard. Then we'll add some pillars every 2, as well as here on the corner of the main build. There we go. We'll have 1 here in the middle and on the corner, and then every 2 once more until we reach the main structure again. Want to have 1 there as well, just so that it looks nice. And you can add one of these beams around the bottom layer just for some extra details. Once again, easy to leave out if you want to save on some structures and what you prefer. We'll have the door in the middle, and then we can add in some pillars, 2 high wood pillars on top of the ones that we've just placed down, except for the ones that are part of the main structure. And this one here in the middle, we can make a little bit taller, 1 or 2, depending on the design. We'll get back to that a little bit later. And then we can start filling in the wall above the doorway with some normal walls, and we'll make some custom windows once more for all of these other ones. But first, here at the end, we can actually add in 2 windows right here, slope walls on top of those, and then some quarter walls right next to these to kind of finish the shape of the roof of the building here. For the window design, we're going to add in some of these quarter walls as well to the side of the building so that we can have those tall windows in the middle. So first, the first variation we're going to place like this pattern, of course, and then in between we can fill in the second variation to make sure that everything attaches nicely to each other and we don't have any unwanted gaps that look a little bit weird. And then we can do the big tall windows, so the short door frame, tall door frame, like we've done a few times, and we'll continue that pattern all the way across the remaining gaps that we still have. So first, we're going to start with the first variation of the quarter walls, placing them, getting them ready. Do the same thing on the other side. On the other side, we're actually going to have 3 windows. So the back of this building, 3 windows in every one of these 2x2 shapes. First off, we're placing as much of this first variation before adding in the second variation in all of the gaps, so that we can make sure that everything connects nicely because of the way that these quarter walls work with wood. So there we go. We'll just go all the way around, filling all of these that we still have to do so that we can have our tall windows. And then we're actually pretty far along already for this side wing of the build. There we go. Now all that we need to do is make sure that we keep the pattern going. So the first variation, second variation, and then we should be able to start snapping in our tall windows at the bottom of all of these gaps. There we go. And then of course the short door frame on top to create our nice tall windows all the way around the build. Just like so. And then of course we can take out our greenhouse glass doors and start filling in all the windows just like this. Yeah, looking quite nice in my opinion. It's not too complicated, these side wings, especially not after doing the big main part of the building already. This should feel a little bit easier. And of course these windows you probably also want to fill in so that you have some proper windows there. And then what you could actually already do is take out your frontier skin as well to change the look of these at least. Unfortunately we can't do that for the other windows because technically they're doors. Then these down on the top, you can actually change to the windows as well. So you could remove the pillar so that a window is a little bit clearer and more visible. But that is up to you, what you prefer. And then on the outside, we want to have a little ledge of these ceilings going across the side of the building right up to the end. The same thing here on the other side as well, which is going to help us get ready for the roof. Underneath, lining up with the pillars, we want to have some scaffolding once more to act as kind of supports for the next layer. There we go. And then on top, we want to start out with building the roof. We're going to start with some slopes, some ramps, flip them around, add them along the top of these ceilings. Should fit in nicely. This one will overlap with the existing water reservoir. If you can't do that, you can remove the top layer. Should be fine. And then we can go all the way across. Just for these 2 first layers, we want to use the ramps. And then, of course, we can do the exact same thing on the other side. Make sure you have the overhang on the outside from one more. Just because it looks a little bit nicer, right? Then here in the corner, we once again have this overlap with the water reservoir. And we're getting stuck. But it's all good. It's all good, ARK. And then we go all the way back to the start again. We will take out our beams, add them across the top layer here of these ramps we've just placed down on both sides, of course. And then all we need to do is the roof in the middle. So we switch to the normal roof and we'll have 1 layer of these on both sides to finish this shape off. Make it nice and pointy in the middle. There we go. Should look quite nicely already. Of course, adding in the beam across the top as well. Just like that. And yeah, there we go. We're pretty much done. What you could do is take out your railings and then actually add them in these little gaps, because there's unfortunately still no piece that fits in there unless you use mods. But yeah, this is a good replacement. This might not always be possible because it's technically overlapping, but if you can place it, yeah, definitely do those to fill in the gaps as much as possible. And then we have one of the side wings done. Of course, you want to do the exact same thing on the other side as well to make sure you have plenty of space for your build. And then we can start with the gate by adding in some pillars, making sure they connect to the bottom here on the outside, just like this, and all these corners, gap of 2. Then we do this corner again, this corner as well, and there we go. We can add in the gateways as well, which is going to be one of the entrances, of course. Change them to the frontier skin because, you know, like the wood look. Add in the actual gate here on the outside layer, and then we can fill in some of these with actual stone walls. Not the middle ones though. We keep those gaps open to provide access to the rest of the build, I suppose. But yeah, this is the start of our little gateway entrance. Then we switch out to the wood. We have some windows that we want to add on top of these corners to kind of let in some light, you know, and break up the walls a little bit. We can actually add in our greenhouse windows, I suppose. And then we of course want to make sure that we change them to the frontier skin because that's way nicer looking. You could of course use other doors as well if you want to save on materials. And yeah, there we go. Should look like this. Then we can start adding in some of our pillars, making them one taller than the gate in the middle and just equally as tall as the gate on the corners. So just like this on both sides. Then here we can have some slope walls to kind of create a nice shape like that. And then on top we want a layer of normal wood walls all the way around to fill this in. It's not a very complicated building. It's basically just a little gatehouse, right? 2 walls on top of the gate as well. And then on top we want to have some slope walls to create the nice little steep point for the roof. Then some quarter walls on top of these corners. Then for the outside, we want to take out some ceilings, add a layer to the outside of the building on both sides, of course. And then we want to take out our scaffolding and add some support underneath at the corners against the pillars. Once again, yeah, just looks really nice. I really love the look of detailing with the scaffolding. And then we can start on the roof. We'll have some ramps, flip them around, make sure we have an overhang on the outside on both sides of the building just to look a little bit nicer. And then we're going to have 2 layers of these ramp on each side, just like this. And we'll do the same thing here, of course. And in those ramps, make sure you have the overhang on the outside of one and just go all the way across to the other side like this. Then we can have the beams going across the top layer, just like so. Do the same thing on the other side. This should be quite familiar because it's pretty much the same thing as we did for the roof of the side wings of the villa. And then we can have 1 layer on each side of the normal roofs to kind of finish this shape. And of course, we want to have the beams at the top, just like that. Already starting to look quite nice. Once again, there's some gaps, and those gaps we can fill in with some railings. Afterwards, we'll be pretty much done with this build. And of course, we want to have 2 of those. So on the opposite side of the compound, you want to build this thing once again and do the exact same build before we move on to the little houses at the front and the actual main gate. But yeah, this will help you get some extra entrances. For the main buildings, you want to, of course, make sure that we just fill in the entire foundation. It will be much more useful. And then we want to have a nice gateway here in the middle and then leave 2 open before we have a gateway into the compound. And we can actually skin those to the frontier one because, again, I prefer that look. We have 1 layer of stone walls on both sides of these gateways. And then, of course, ending them in pillars so that it looks nice and supported and there's no unwanted gaps anywhere, just like this. And then for this building, we actually want to go around with some of these pillars, add them to the corner of the build, and we can actually add them in the middle here as well. And come to think of it, we might as well make them 2 high right away for the first layer of this build. So 2 high pillars, gaps of 2 everywhere. We're going to have some pillars so as well over here. There we go. That should give us a good first layer. And then we can start filling in some of these walls being too high. We'll leave the middle open. We'll have 2 high walls here. 2 high walls here, but not the actual corners. We're going to do some windows in there. So for now, we'll just leave them open like this. And then the side of the building, once again, you can completely fill in with some 2x2 walls all the way across to the other side. Here, we're going to do the same thing, everything except the corners, because we actually want to have these windows in the corners to let in some light down below in this first layer of the build. You'll place the windows here as well. Then we can actually, of course, add our windows to these walls and, of course, change them to the frontier skin, because that looks a lot nicer and will get us some nice looking windows for our stables. Speaking of the stables, what we want to do in the middle, we want to place down a pillar. We have some walls like this to kind of create the different boxes where you could house your dinos, and then a thin pillar on top of these, creating 3 possible parking spots. And then here in the middle, we can actually have some slope walls to kind of create a nicer little shape here for this passageway. Of course, meaning that not all dinos will fit in, but that's to be understandable, I think. And here we want to get some walls going up against the gateways, the main gates here, just like this. And then actually above here, we want to make a little walkway connecting the 2 builds. So we have some staircases like this, and then we'll fill in some ceilings right in the middle over here, like so. And then have the staircase come down back to the other side, which should connect both sides of the house quite fine. And then here we can actually have some nice windows so that we can also enjoy the view above the gate. And then the corners we can just fill in with some normal walls like this. Of course, actually filling in the windows, skinning them to the frontier skin to fit on theme with everything else we've placed down so far. Then we can add in some pillars all the way down from the bottom up like this. And then 2 on the corner as well. There we go. Same thing here, of course, on the other side. Adding in these pillars, 2 on the corners as well, just like that. And yeah, then we should be able to add a little layer of ceilings here on the outside, so we can start on the roof above the gateway itself. So same thing on both sides. You can have some scaffolding to support the pieces just next to the gates like this. And once again, just had some nice little details in there. And then we should be able to start our roof with some ramps, of course, flipped around. 2 high in total, which should line up with both sides meeting in the middle. So just like this. There we go. And then we want to have a beam going across the top. And yeah, that should be it for this little gateway in the middle. And then we can start to focus on the actual builds of the house. First off, we'll fill in the whole ceilings, just going around the whole shape, getting this filled in. So just filling in the last few pieces over here on this side, and then we're pretty much done with this basis. We want to add one more over here so we can have a little stairway going into this layer, because of course downstairs we have the stables. So we'll add a pillar in for support, some railings of course to make you feel a little bit safer if you go up here and not fall down all the time. And then here at the end, there's 2 variations that you can pick from. You can either have both of them the same or have each for all options. The first one is like this, adding the pillars in like this pattern, and then on the front we have them every one like so. It's basically going to turn into a big balcony. Then we're going to have a layer of ceilings on top, and everything above this layer would be the same, as we'll show in a little bit once we get to the roof. We would have doors here at the corners to enter your balcony from. We can of course fill in the rest of these walls like so, just like that, and have some railings for your balcony going all the way around the build as well. And then here in the middle, we want to make sure that we have some windows. So 1 layer of quarter walls there, and another layer right here at the top too. And then we can have some of those tall windows in between. So start with the short door frame above like that, and then the tall one at the bottom to create some tall windows. Fill them in, of course, at the doors everywhere. And that is one of the 2 variations, but there's another one as well. What you do in this case is just raise up your pillars 3 high from the corners like normal, like this. Then we can actually start filling in some of the walls as well, just 3 high on the sides, on the other side too. Fill in these top layers as well, and then in the middle we're going to have some of these quarter walls, the other variations, so it all lines up, and then a little doorway in the middle so that we can make a much smaller balcony with a nice shape. Of course, adding in a little door first, so that we have some privacy. You're not just walking outside all the time. But yeah, we want to make a little balcony by having some triangles like this. Just a nice round balcony, some thin pillars on top, and of course a railing to keep you safe in there as well. And then we can end it up with some scaffolding underneath as supports, and of course a roof on top like this. The triangle pieces, 3 of them, nice and round, and that's a nice little balcony on the outside. And you can pick between those 2 variations. Now on the top layer you would just add in a row of beams all the way across, all the way to the outside, and you want to make them stick out by 1. This would count for both variations, by the way, so this would be the same again. And then this is where we can have some supports on the side as well. And yeah, that is pretty much the end of the roof. We want to have 2 more walls, quarter walls next to it like this, which will be the fill-in pattern for our roof later on. Then here on the side we want to add some ceilings, 6 in total, which is going to go all the way to the other side of our building. Do the same thing here at the other side as well, 6 in total like so. And then here we can start filling in some of the walls. Now this one is just going to be a normal wall all the way through. Here of course we want to leave room for a door, so we're going to fill in these, add in a little doorway there, and then above this path we can just have normal walls too, some slope walls to create some shapes, and then fill in the pillars all the way to the top, as well as the corner over here, same over there actually. And then every 2 we can actually add in some more of these pillars all the way up to the ceiling layer that we placed down. Let's get rid of that one. And then this is where we want to also fill in some walls, but we'll leave open the middle one because that will get a nice and tall window for us. So we'll go over like this, and in this window, this is where it will be. We're gonna do the same quarter wall foundation. We have some more quarter walls there, leave the gap again. This is something we've done a few times by now, so it should be familiar. Go to the other variation to fill in the holes, and then you should be able to snap in those short doors and tall door frames to create a nice and tall window for yourself on the side here. And then we can actually add in beams across the bottom layer of these walls for a little bit of sport. Don't do it where the doors are, because that looks a little bit silly, but otherwise you can go all the way around with your beams connecting this build together. Of course, here we also want to add them at the end of the ceilings. There we go. And then we can actually also add in the supports here, just these ones at the end though. Here on the side we can also add them wherever a pillar is, because there's nothing else, but that's going to interfere with our build. And then here on this side, we actually want to make sure that we also add in the pillar in the middle to divide this up into 2 sections, which are both going to get those tall windows that we've done a bunch of times before now. So yeah, we want to make sure that we get 1 layer of the normal quarter walls all the way down, and then of course we're going to start the same pattern that we've done a few times now, leaving the gaps for now where the other variations are going to be. And then at the top we can go all the way through to the other side once more, fill in the gaps with the other variations so that everything will align with the other wall pieces. Then we can take them out, create our windows. First the tall doorways, the short doorways on top. There we go. Fill in your windows, and then we're getting very, very close to being done with this build. Of course, we can have the beams going across the top all the way. And yeah, then it's time to get working on the roof. First of all, we can start with the ramps here on the side all the way across to the other side with a little overhang on both sides of 1 additional ramp. And then here, of course, we can also mirror what we did on the other side, 2 walls in the middle, and then some quarter walls on each side to kind of fill in the end of the build here. We can take up our ramps with another layer. Oh, let's make sure to flip them around. I personally like this texture a little bit more, but of course you can pick what you want. So in total, this is going to be 3 layers of ramps. It's going to be a completely ramp roof, just to kind of have that variation and not make the same roof design everywhere. So on the other side, it's going to be the exact same thing, getting the ramp back down into the ceilings that we placed before, all the way until the other side, making sure that we do have that overhang on the end. Let's remove any misplaced ramps. There we go. So just like this. And then of course on the inside we want to use some railings if we can to fill in those gaps, because, well, unfortunately in normal ARK there's no pieces to fit between there. Of course, if you use mods like Architect Structures Remastered, there are these gables or these slope walls that do fit, which would be your savior in the case, because that makes it just a little bit nicer. But this still works and gets you a nice looking roof for sure. And then of course, once we've done all this, we're pretty much done with the gate. Of course, we want to add in the doorways, and you want to replicate this on the other side of the gate as well, of course, to make sure that you've got the full build. Speaking of the gate, we want to make sure that we also add that one in so that you can have safety in your compound and nothing just running inside. And we'll add a beam going all the way across the top of the roof here. Then it's time to start these side walls. For now, we'll start with some stone pillars, leaving gaps of 2 every time and placing them up to the gatehouse like so. On the other side, it's just going to be this one. So you want to make sure, just as on the other side, it's 1 from the gate and 2 from the building that is there at the end. On the other side, we'll place some walls as well, or some pillars as well, lining up with them. And then we can start adding in some walls here at the edge of the compound to make sure that it is going to be secure. So we'll just follow these foundations like so. And then on top of these, we actually want to add in some wooden pillars, just 1 high above the stone. Oh, that's not what we want. We want 1 wooden pillar on top of the stone ones we've already got, because yeah, that will be our little design. Keeping with the scheme we've had, we want to have some fences or railings along the top like this in this little pattern to create a nice design as well. And we're going to follow that all the way across the top of these walls, as well as here at the end, and make sure to flip them around again to do the top layer here, going all the way across the side like this. There we go. And then it's actually time to add a little roof to this. We're going to once again use the ramps, so we want to get this the right snap point and place the ramps in like this, connecting them up to the main build like so. Might want to take out the scaffolding because it's overlapping, especially if you can't overlap, like this. And then at the end you can actually also stick out some of these railings to kind of create an overhang on the side of these roofs, which I personally do like the look of. And then underneath you can actually add these as kind of support beams as well, just for a nice design. But again, these are things that you could easily save some structures on if you need to or want to. And then here we're going to pretty much do the same thing. Again, getting the right snap point will be the trick. And we want to have the overhang here on the outside as well, just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then we can just fill in our ramps all the way across, of course, on the other side, adding them in as well to create this little wall that kind of surrounds the whole compound and makes it safe. Then, of course, we can add in some railings to the side of this. Oh, let's make sure we place them in the right orientation. Really screwing up with some of these placements today, but that's totally fine. All the way along the side. And then, of course, if you want to, you can also add in some support beams below. I really like those. It just makes it look like it's properly supported, but of course, not necessary. It's totally up to you if you want to add them or not. But I do think that makes for a nice little design. And of course, don't forget this one as well, adding those little overhangs. And then we can here add in a nice little beam across the top of the roof to pretty much finish this whole design. Also, don't forget to do the same over here, And with that being done, you would of course repeat the same process on the other side to pretty much finish the whole villa build. And there we go. This is what you could end up with. Of course, I've made some additional changes to the build. For once, I've painted all the walls in a white color. It might actually be silver, a little less bright. And then you can see that all the details that are on the walls I painted, I think it's either brown or mud color, just to get that brown back. You can see all the pillars have been changed to the frontier skin, just to kind of get that more traditional medieval look. And for the roofs, there's actually a bunch of colors that look good. I think this is baby blue, but you could use just your favorite color, to be honest. I think swamp is pretty good, filth is pretty nice as well, and there's a bunch of other colors that could look really, really nice for this build. And yes, you can see, yeah, this is the main little entrance with those two different variations that we worked on. We've got the whole side bit. Of course, this one is raised up a little bit more than the design that we did because of the terrain that I placed it in, but that of course will be very personal. Then all the plans that I've used are from JVH Landscaping to, you know, get that greenery in there, which of course helps bringing it to life. We've got some statues from the Dwarven Structures mod, and you can also see that the bottom layer, which used to be stone, I've changed into the steampunk skins, because I think you can definitely blend those in, as well as the stone pillars, turning them to the steampunk variation, and the stone variation looks quite nice as well. And yeah, so you can kind of go about transforming this a little bit. Of course, you want to have the frontier skins here with the windows to make it into actual windows. But overall, yeah, I think this is definitely a very nice little base build that you could use. So let's have a quick little look. So here on one side, I've opted to have the industrial forge here because it fits. And then if you drop off your gathering tames, your Ankies, you can instantly start smelting and then, you know, have all the things melted. And the walkways there on the side, of course, you can also use. You can have some of your machinery back here. There's plenty of room on the inside as well, and as you can see, I've now painted the thatch in a filth color to kind of get that grass feeling. But of course, if you prefer, you can just all make it out of stone instead. If you don't like that look, you can have your forges around, utilize the space, get some trees, another forge over here. Again, you can utilize every bit of the space available, of course, making sure you use it all. Then we got some stables underneath here, of course. So yeah, you can park some of your smaller tames quite easily inside of these. It's a little bit dark for some reason sometimes on the map on the inside, but yeah, got some stables going on here. Then of course you basically have two houses up here above the gate. So yeah, you have quite a bit of room that you could use. Some nice balconies to appreciate the views around. Of course, they're connected with each other as well. So yeah, you can see I still have them quite empty, but there's definitely a bunch of things that you could fit inside there. And then of course you've got the main big villa build, where on one side here I've got all my storage. I'm using visual storage, which is a mod, but of course you could also just have your storage boxes or vaults in here instead of this. And then you've got the main hall with some storage as well. And of course you can use some of this for some hidden storage if you want to. You could even build like a little hidden staircase in here, so that if you build this out of ceilings and walls, you can also use the little layer below, maybe to hide your generator, stuff like that. More storage, and I've got a little kitchen over here on this side of the build. And then of course we got all the other layers that we have left here. So we have a lot of crafting and storage on this layer. Nice balcony to look out over the whole build. This is also where some of your smaller flyers you could easily park here, the RGs, pterodons, stuff like that. And then of course we can continue to go all the way up, which in my case is where I've got some cryos, some bedroom, you know, just the usual stuff. But there's definitely a lot of space available in this base, and I do think it's got some cool vibes. Of course, it's still unfortunate we don't have the pieces to fit in here with the ramps in normal ARK, but if you use mods, you could use Architect Structures Remastered to get the pieces, the slope walls, the gables that we are missing to fit in there and make the build complete, but still, I think it works, and I think it looks pretty nice indeed. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this build tutorial. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you around in the next video. Goodbye.